Yep. Anybody else?
Should the Defense Secretary...
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
This was the moment that Martha Kellner, a Sky News reporter from the UK, attempted to ask Marjorie Taylor Greene a straight question about the leaked messages about missile strikes in Yemen March 15th.
No, let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Ms. Taylor Greene's fevered response is just another example of the fallout after editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, was inadvertently added to a group chat on messaging platform Signal between, amongst others, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Vice President JD Vance.
Nobody's texting war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
But the timing of aspects of the operation against the Houthis was included in the group chat. And that means, according to some members of Congress, that it should have been classified.
Information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause describable damage to national security. This includes military plans, weapon systems, or operations.
For context, Fox News' national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin highlighted some of those timings. They were posted by the Defense Secretary 2 hours before the airstrikes began.
12:15 Eastern, F-18s launch, first strike package. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched.
Everyone here knows that the Russians or the Chinese could have gotten all of that information. And they could have passed it on to the Houthis, who easily could have repositioned weapons and altered their plans to knock down planes or sink ships.
Mr. Himes is right that in the wrong hands, the level of detail from Mr. Hegseth could have compromised the mission. But it didn't, and the Houthi strikes were a success and represent the best of Mr. Trump's instincts on restoring deterrence.
It was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released. And what we should be talking about is it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that mission.
Nevertheless, some Democrats want action.
Leader Jeffries also sent a letter to the president yesterday calling for Pete Hegseth to be fired immediately.
I agree he should be fired.
Do we care about the mainstream media? Do we care about The Atlantic?
What's making matters worse is that some of those involved are trying to brush this off as a media hoax, rather than just admitting a mistake was made and moving on.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again.
It also detracts from arguably the bigger story, which is that both Michael Waltz and Pete Hegseth backed the president and US leadership, while JD Vance was a voice for retreat, even when Mr. Trump directed otherwise.
In this chat, there was a moment where JD Vance questioned POTUS's judgment about this Houthi bombing, and then he had to be talked back.
The key exchange began on March 14th, the day before US strikes on Yemen. Signal user Michael Waltz wrote, "Team, you should have a statement of conclusions with taskings per the president's guidance." But not all preferred to take that guidance. "I think we're making a mistake," the user JD Vance replied, going on to say 3% of US trade runs through the Suez, the canal blocked by Houthi fire, while 40% of European trade does. To their credit, in response, both Messrs. Hegseth and Waltz pointed out the risks of waiting. The National Security Advisor explaining the damage to global trade and the limits of Europe's navies. The Defense Secretary putting in writing what he made public afterwards.
Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence, we will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis.
Back to the thread and the response from Mr. Vance, "I just hate bailing Europe out again," he wrote. Mr. Hegseth agreed. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic.
The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and JD Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer that? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. The European Union's been absolutely terrible to us on trade, terrible. And as you know, NATO, I got them to pay hundreds of billions of dollars. They were way behind.
The lesson Europeans and many friends elsewhere will take from this episode is that officials at the top of the Trump administration think the US relationship isn't based on common interests or values. It's closer to a protection racket. It's another reason why many of America's allies may conclude they can no longer trust the US in a crisis.
I don't care about your fake news. Do you have a relevant question? Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asked.
I'm not answering her question.